Hello everyone, my name is Amarnath Chitti and I have translated this book Andhra Tarka Sastra into English, and the purpose of this presentation is to provide insights into the contents covered in this book. For copies of this book, please email me at tarkaforall@gmail.com. In this presentation, we will cover today details about Padaartha, which is the building block of Tarka Sastra. Tarka means reasonings or proposals for Padaartha. Padaartha is a Sanskrit word which means the meaning of the word or the material or matter that it is referring to. The relationship between words and their meanings are definitive, while words are expressive, which we in Sanskrit called vachaka, and their meanings are definitive, which is vachya. So there is a vachya-vachaka relationship between the words and their meanings. As per Tarka Sastra, material or Padaartha can be classified into two types. Material that can be observed with the sensory organs and material that cannot be observed with sensory organs. For first one, the examples are many, like air, water, any kind of material observable with our human sensory organs. For the second type, the example would be atomic material, which cannot be observed with our sensory organs. They can be only imagined. The father of Tarka Sastra is Sri Akshapada Gautama, and he has defined 16 categories to define material back in 6th or 7th century CE. And later on in the 4th century, 3rd or 4th century CE, Kanada Maharshi, he is the father of Vaiseshika Sastra, he has condensed them into 7 categories. So we are going to go into the details about these 7 categories in this presentation. Padaartha was also defined and discussed in the ancient Greek philosophy. They call it substance. And in pre-Socrates days, they used to consider substance as the material made up of the 5 elements like earth, water, air, fire, and ether. But later on, there is a lot of discussion. They rubbished that, and Aristotle came up with something called predicables, which call the set of objects and are in objects. So basically, it is in alignment with the Tarka Sastra. So there is a lot of research on this Padaartha in all the philosophies, ancient philosophies. The properties of material could be classified into 2 attributes. The first one is properties with general attributes, and second one is properties with distinctive attributes. As an example, if you take the bovine class, which is the class of animals dealing with cows and oxes, the general attributes are having horns, having a tail, they are 4-legged animals. So these are general attributes. I mean, with these attributes, you can get some understanding about those animals, but they does not give the full picture about that animal, right? Whereas if you take the distinctive attributes, for example, cows have dewlaps, which is unique to cows. So if you say that this animal has dewlap, that means it is cow. So basically, distinctive attributes provide the exclusive properties of that material or animal or whatever. To confirm the distinctive attributes, one has to overcome 3 types of aberrations we call doshas. One is avyapti dosha, which is non-existence of the required parameters, like whatever is mandatory property. Ativyapti dosha, which means the existence of this mandatory property at non-expected targets. That means it is uh, the property is not exclusive. And third one is asambhavam, properties which are impossible in that category of objects under observation. For avyapti dosha, if you say that brown color is a mandatory feature of cows, and you find cows which does not have, which are not brown in color, that means brown color in cows is not a distinctive property for cows. For ativyapti dosha, suppose if you say having horns is the distinctive attribute for cow, since goats and other animals, buffaloes, can also have horns, that means having horns is not a distinctive property for cows. The third one is asambhavam, which is impossible property. For example, if you say cows have undivided hoofs, which is impossible, right? Cows will have divided hoofs. So that is not a distinctive property for cow. So identifying the distinctive properties of a material is mandatory to define the material. Now let's go into what does material made up of. Like as per Tarka Sastra, in this world, material can be made up of any of the 9 elements in combination, right? So the 9 elements are earth, water, energy, liquid, ether, time, direction, soul, and mind. While the first 5 are mandatory, I mean these are mandatory for earthly elements, the remaining 4, time, direction, soul, and mind, especially time and direction, would define the properties of material and also some of the qualities of that material, depending on, I mean, we can go into the details depending on the time of the day or the direction. Soul and mind are exclusively the properties or the material components of human, related to the human aspect of it, human mind, human soul, right? So these are not attributed to the earthly elements. So in the next section, we'll talk about the 7 properties or 7 categories of the material properties through which a material can be understood. The 7 categories of material features are the elementary matter with value, which is called dravyamlu. There are 24 possible properties that the material can exhibit. There are 5 possible actions, and there are 2 types of similarities and 6 types of peculiar properties, and there is some unique relationship and the non-existence. There are 4 types of non-existence that can be defined. Elementary matter with value, that means the material that has inherent value. Easiest is example gold. It has its inherent value. It glitters, whether it is part of the ore or whether it is extracted. Gold maintains its value. Similarly, there are 24 possible properties. They are classified here as the first 5 are related to the elementary matter, which is the material existence, taste, smell, feel, and count, and the size. And next 7 are related to the material's existence, like whether it can exist independently or it will coexist with some other material, or whether it will be alienated, which is away from the rest of the material, or does the material has the pervasive properties, more pervasive property, or it doesn't, less pervasive property, or the material has weight, or material that can flow, or material that can be made into a paste. And the last 10, I think, are more related to the human mind uh, and intellect, right? So, of course, sound can be attributed to the elementary material, but if you see intellect, comfort, sorrows, desire, enmity, and uh, attempting, being principled or unprincipled, transformation, these are all the properties attributed to human soul. There are 5 possible actions that a material can exhibit. One is moving up, moving down, folding in, spreading, and changing places. There are 2 types of similarities, pervasiveness and non-pervasiveness. This enables defining a species or creed or group. Similar shapes and similar properties define a creed, and a creed is eternal in nature. As an example, you can have parts can be classified into a group. Even though one part breaks, the parts will still remain as a class, creed together. There are 6 types of godly material which have special properties. Godly material are free from deformities or aberrations. They are earth, water, fire, atoms, and ether. And the earthly materials are made up of the godly material. While earthly materials can change properties, godly material will retain their properties. They do not change over time. Kanada Maharshi has identified this godly material, and he said that there would be special attributes required to define the godly material, and he came up with its subject called Vaiseshika Sastra. Hence, he is the father of Vaiseshika Sastra. In this world, there could be unique relationship between 2 materials. For example, a pot and the clay, they have unique relationship. Similarly, threads and the clothes. So as long as the threads are intact, the cloth is intact. So these kind of unique relationships are eternal in nature. So material can express this unique relationship in this world. And the last one is non-existence. There are 4 types of non-existence. We'll go into the details shortly. Abhavamu, non-existence, is of 4 types. The first one is pragabhavamu. That means when a material does not exist, just before the material existed, there exists a time when the material is not known. So that is pragabhavamu. Then pradvamsabhavam means is a state of vacuum when a material gets destroyed or disappears. For example, a pot is broken. So there is a state when there is a pot does not exist. So that is pradvamsabhavam. Third one is atyantabhavam. That means the material exists, but it cannot be observed physically, like air. And the fourth one is anyonya bhavam. This is the distinction between 2 different materials. That means anyonya means like being together, right? And abhava means not being together. That means distinct. So then the non-existence of commonality makes 2 different material distinct. With this, we covered the first 2 chapters of this book. In the 3rd chapter, we are going to cover the organs of sensation and how knowledge is gained, what kinds of the different knowledge types. So we are going to go through those details in the next presentation. Thanks for your time, and for copies of this book, please email me at tarkaforall@gmail.com. All the contributions will go to enhance supporting Vedic education in India.